Forget skyscrapers. The world's most impossible engineering isn't reaching for the clouds. It's buried 18 stories deep in the pitch black. Today, we are doing a deep dive into a deeply uncomfortable reality. We are analyzing high-tech subterranean metropolises hidden across the globe.
Right, and they were not just scratched into the dirt. We are talking about massive structures carved into solid rock.
Yeah.
Using tools that, they simply should not exist in that era.
Millions of tons of excavated stone have completely vanished.
Yeah.
Like there is no debris, there is no rubble, it is just gone.
Which is exactly why the structural engineering data we are examining is so deeply disruptive. Mainstream history presents a very neat linear timeline of human progress.
Right, the comforting straight line.
Exactly. We start with rudimentary stone tools, then we slowly figure out agriculture, we build vulnerable little villages.
And eventually, over thousands of years, we arrive at modern engineering. But the physical anomalies buried under the bedrock challenge that entire narrative.
They absolutely dismantle it.
Now, this might sound like a science fiction plot, but we are looking at hard architectural data today. To understand just how baffling this engineering is, we must start with a discovery that happened completely by accident.
Picture the situation. It is Turkey, the region of Cappadocia. The year is 1963.
Right. A man is doing a simple home renovation. He takes a sledgehammer and knocks down a basement wall.
He expects to find a crawl space. Instead, he uncovers a literal 20-story skyscraper plunging straight down into the earth.
If you enjoy thoughtful conversations like this, consider subscribing to the channel, because this gets much darker. This structure goes 60 meters straight down.
Yes. This is the subterranean city of Derinkuyu. And calling it a city is not an exaggeration.
Not at all. It is a massive 18-level underground complex.
We need to be absolutely clear about what this facility is. We are not talking about a few connected caves where primitive people huddled around a fire.
Right. This facility was designed to house up to 50,000 people at once, alongside their livestock, their food stores, even wine presses.
It is a masterpiece of survival logistics. The engineering required to keep that many living, breathing organisms alive underground is staggering.
But because if you put 50,000 people 60 meters underground, your first problem is not space. Your most immediate problem is oxygen.
Exactly. Without a massive supply of fresh air, that many people would suffocate in a matter of days.
Yet Derinkuyu features over 15,000 individual ventilation shafts.
And you have to consider how that works without electricity or giant mechanical fans. They were utilizing what we now call the Bernoulli principle.
Right, by engineering massive central shafts that reached all the way to the surface.
Yes. They connected those to thousands of smaller capillary tunnels. This created distinct pressure differentials.
The structural design effectively turned the entire 18-story city into a giant mechanical lung.
Exactly. Hot, stale air from human bodies and cooking fires naturally rose up through specific exhaust shafts. This created a vacuum that pulled cold, fresh air down from the surface.
Through the intake shafts, it was a perfectly balanced, passive HVAC system.
It was flawless. And the water supply is just as paranoid. They engineered deep, independent wells.
They specifically did not rely on surface groundwater, because if an enemy was above ground, they could just dump toxins down the well to flush everyone out.
Right. The water was sourced from deep aquifers that could not be tampered with from the top level.
Okay, let's unpack this. This is not just an ancient village. This is basically a highly optimized, modern-day fallout shelter.
The level of preparation is terrifying. They even had massive 1,000-pound circular stone doors.
Right. They function like blast doors.
Yeah.
But they were milled perfectly to fit the tunnels.
And the defining feature of these doors is that they could only be sealed from the inside.
You do not build a 1,000-pound locking mechanism on the inside of a door unless you are trying to keep something incredibly dangerous out.
No, you do not. But looking at this from an engineering perspective, there are two massive anomalies we have to address. First, the vanished rock.
To carve out a complex of this size, you are talking about removing tens of thousands of tons of dense volcanic tuff.
Look, if a modern construction company tried to build Derinkuyu today, they would need a massive fleet of heavy diesel trucks.
Yeah, massive cranes, and months of logistical planning just to cart away the excavation debris.
But here, the rock simply disappeared. There is zero waste rock on the surface.
Not a single pile of tailings.
You do not just sweep a mountain of volcanic debris under the rug. It forces us to consider how they transported it, and more importantly, where they put it.
And the second anomaly is psychological. This raises an important point about the state of mind of the builders.
Right. You have to evaluate what exactly these people were so terrified of that they felt compelled to move an entire civilization 60 meters underground.
It takes a profound level of terror to look at the sunlit surface of the Earth and decide to dig 18 stories down into the pitch black.
To figure out subterranean air pressure and seal yourselves behind 1,000-pound doors just to survive.
It absolutely implies a threat that was not just a passing invading army.
A passing army does not necessitate an 18-level, deep, fully ventilated metropolis designed for long-term habitation.
No, it implies a cataclysmic existential threat.
Derinkuyu proves humanity had the motive to go underground, but it does not really explain the methods.
Right. To understand how you actually move that much stone without a trace, we have to look at a site that scaled this up to an imperial level.
We are moving from the survival bunkers of Turkey to the architectural impossibilities of China.
The year is 1992 in the Zhejiang province.
A local Chinese farmer decides to pool some money with his neighbors. They buy a water pump and drain a local, seemingly bottomless pond.
But as the water level drops, they do not find a muddy riverbed. They uncover a geographic impossibility.
Hidden below the water are 24 gigantic halls carved directly into solid sandstone.
We really need to emphasize the sheer scale here. The structural surveys describe these not as rooms or even large caverns.
They are underground cathedrals. Some of the ceilings in these halls reach 30 meters high.
That is a 10-story building completely hollowed out beneath the earth.
The massive stone pillars supporting the roof are intricately carved, and the walls are covered in precise uniform markings.
Now, I need to pause here, because we have to address the obvious skepticism. People might assume these are just natural caverns that water carved out over millions of years.
That is a fair assumption, but it is geologically impossible. Sandstone does not naturally form 30-meter high, perfectly square underground rooms with load-bearing pillars.
Right, the geological reports are definitive. These were completely artificially excavated.
And here is where the math of this missing stone gets really disturbing, because it makes Derinkuyu look small.
At this site, known as the Longyou caves, structural engineers calculate that someone had to move 1 million cubic meters of solid rock.
1 million. To give you a visual, that is enough stone to fill 400 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
And just like in Turkey, the rubble is entirely gone. It did not just get moved down the road.
It completely ceased to exist in the archaeological record.
If this discussion is giving you a new perspective, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes.
Yeah.
Because this forces us to look at the methods.
Mainstream history demands that ancient peoples only had primitive hand tools, bronze chisels, and crude stone hammers.
Right. The timeline and the workforce required to move 1 million cubic meters of sandstone using those tools would be astronomical.
It would require thousands of laborers working day and night for decades.
But I have to push back on the idea of primitive tools being used here entirely, just based on the physics of what they left behind.
Exactly. The engineering reports note that the rock walls separating these massive 30-meter high halls are only 50 centimeters thick.
Half a meter. Think about the thousands of tons of compressive stress bearing down from that ceiling.
Carving 50-centimeter thick load-bearing walls in the dark with a stone chisel is not just hard. It is like performing open-heart surgery with a sledgehammer while blindfolded.
If you hit sandstone with a chisel, microfractures propagate. If the builders were off by a single inch, the load distribution shatters.
The rock shears and the entire 10-story structure collapses into a heap of sand.
Exactly. It requires terrifying mathematical precision.
You cannot achieve a 50-centimeter margin of error on a 30-meter high subterranean wall using a stone hammer in the flickering light of a torch.
Right. It requires advanced surveying, a flawless understanding of load distribution,
and tools that do not waver. But what is truly fascinating here is the total historical silence.
The silence is the most unsettling part of this whole thing.
If you look at Chinese history, it is arguably the most meticulously documented in the world.
For thousands of years, imperial dynasties kept agonizingly detailed records.
They recorded every minor flood, every tiny shift in the tax code, every decree from every emperor.
They recorded the exact number of laborers sent to build the Great Wall. They kept all the receipts.
But for an imperial-scale project of this magnitude, moving 400 Olympic pools of stone, there's nothing.
Total, absolute silence. There's not a single word existing in any historical text.
No records of the architects, no records of the thousands of laborers it would have supposedly taken.
No worker camps found nearby. No primitive tools left behind in the mud.
And again, zero explanation for how an ocean of sandstone vanished without a trace.
It is like a highly dense tree came in, hollowed out a mountain with laser precision, packed up their gear, and left without leaving a single fingerprint.
But if Longyou lacks the tools to explain its creation, our next site actually leaves the literal mechanical fingerprints of something way ahead of its time.
This is where we leave the structural scale and look at the microscopic details of the stone itself.
We are taking you deep into the Ecuadorian Amazon, to a place called the Taos Caves.
And right away, the geological surveys show these completely defy all natural norms. When water carves a cave over millennia, it leaves organic, flowing, irregular shapes.
The Taos Caves feature rectangular corridors. They have glass-smooth ceilings and perfectly flat walls.
Nature simply does not do perfectly flat walls and sharp 90-degree angles inside a deep underground cave system.
But the most crucial evidence is not the shape of the rooms. It is right there on the rock faces.
If you look closely at the walls, they are covered in perfectly parallel grooves.
Like someone took a giant, heavy-duty rake to the stone.
Precisely. But a rake with mathematical perfection. These grooves are identical in depth.
They are spaced perfectly apart. Modern mining engineers recognize these marks instantly.
They point out that these are absolutely not the jagged, erratic striations you get from primitive stone chisels.
Right, a human arm swinging a chisel creates uneven depths, varying angles, and inconsistent force.
Heavy machinery, however, leaves consistent striations because the feed rate and the RPM of the drill are constant.
These parallel grooves are the distinct, undeniable signature of heavy mechanical drill.
With heavy machinery. In the ancient Amazon rainforest, it sounds completely absurd.
But the physical marks are literally etched in stone. And to really frame how baffling this site is, there is an incredible historical anomaly documented on record.
In 1976, a massive expedition was organized to go down into the Taos Caves. This was not a couple of guys with flashlights.
It was organized by a Scottish engineer named Stan Hall, and it involved over 100 people, including British Special Forces and the Ecuadorian military.
But the most shocking person on that roster was Neil Armstrong.
The first man to walk on the moon.
Yes, an Apollo astronaut. A man whose entire career and mindset was built on cutting-edge aerospace engineering, physics, and objective reality.
He travels to the Amazon, he gets lowered down into these deep vertical shafts in a bosun's chair.
And he spends days navigating these impossibly perfect machine-cut tunnels in the dark.
And when he finally emerges, he tells the press it was one of the most profound experiences of his life.
He actually compared it to his time on the moon. But then he maintained a bizarre, lifelong silence about the specifics of what he actually saw down there.
It is a very telling reaction. When an aerospace engineer sees a primitive, water-carved cave, they might be mildly interested in the geology.
But when they see something that challenges the very foundation of their understanding of technology and human history,
when they see mechanical drill marks in a place where only Stone Age tribes supposedly existed, silence is often the only response.
the implications are too heavy to casually discuss.
It forces you to evaluate what the historical narrative is failing to tell us. When a man who has walked on another world is stunned into silence by what he finds buried under the jungle.
We now have a clear pattern. We're not just looking at isolated anomalies anymore.
Right. Let us connect the dots here. We have 3 distinct geographic locations: Turkey, China, and Ecuador.
3 completely different continents, 3 entirely different eras of supposed construction.
Yet they all share an undeniable chilling profile. We are talking about incredible, impossible scale.
We're talking about mechanical, mathematical precision, load-bearing expertise, and advanced ventilation.
And in every single case, millions of tons of excavated stone simply cease to exist.
It is the exact same architectural fingerprint, spanning the globe, defying the timeline we have all been taught.
So we have to confront what this all means. We are taught from grade school that human civilization is a neat straight line.
We started in caves with primitive tools, and we slowly, painfully marched our way up to modern computers and skyscrapers.
But these tunnels, these perfectly drilled walls, these vanished mountains of rock, they tell a completely different story.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the central hypothesis, the concept known as the Great Reboot.
The Great Reboot, it is an incredibly ominous term.
It is. Now, the hypothesis is that our advanced modern world, with our smartphones, our satellites, and our skyscrapers, it might not actually be the first time humanity has reached a technological pinnacle.
Right. The evidence in the bedrock suggests that what we currently consider the dawn of human history might actually just be a reboot.
like hitting a hard reset on a computer system that critically failed.
Exactly. We are living on top of the ruins of a civilization that was highly advanced.
They were smart. They possessed heavy machinery. They understood complex thermodynamics and load-bearing engineering.
But they were also far more desperate than we can even fathom.
Because, as you pointed out earlier, you do not build an 18-story underground bunker with 1,000-pound blast doors unless you are facing the literal end of the world.
Precisely. According to the Great Reboot theory, this previous civilization possessed the technology to hollow out mountains.
Yet they were forced to hide deep in the earth from some unknown cataclysm.
Whatever they were running from, it was severe enough to hit the reset button on humanity.
All their surface structures, their advanced tools, their records, their societies, wiped out.
Leaving only the indestructible, hollowed-out stone shells of their survival bunkers behind for us to find thousands of years later.
For more deep and engaging explorations like this, subscribe to the channel, because this completely reframes how you look at the world.
The real story of our world is not neatly printed in the history books you read in school.
It is not a straight, comforting line of endless progress. The truth, or at least a massive piece of the puzzle, is hiding right beneath your feet in the pitch black.
It challenges us to look down deep into the earth rather than up at the stars for the true origins of our technological history.
It really does. It completely shifts the perspective of what humans are capable of and what we might have already lost.
It forces a reckoning with our own vulnerability.
So before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Something to just let sit in your mind the next time you walk down a busy city street.
Imagine this for a moment.
If our modern civilization were to face an extinction-level cataclysm tomorrow, a massive solar flare, an asteroid, whatever it might be, what would our subterranean footprint look like to the next reboot of humanity?
Millions of years from now, when all our skyscrapers have rusted to dust, another society will find the crumbling remains of our subway networks.
Our deep earth seed vaults and our subterranean server farms.
They will marvel at the perfect machine-board tunnels we left behind.
And they will wonder where all our rubble went.
A haunting reality.
Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more insights and explore the other videos on the channel to continue the journey.